What's next? That's the focus of tonight's angle. In what was perhaps the most consequential tweet sent since Election Day, President Trump gave the go-ahead for the transition. You see it there. And as unpleasant and disappointing as these past 3 weeks have been to so many of us, as much as we wish things were different, this is where things stand tonight. Now, legal challenges continue in a number of states. Serious questions about vote counting, poll watcher access are outstanding. But unless the legal situation changes in a dramatic and, frankly, an unlikely manner, Joe Biden will be inaugurated on January 20th. Now, to say this does not mean I don't think that this election was rife with problems and potential fraud. And to say this does not constitute being a sellout to the conservative populist movement that I've been fighting for, I don't know, 25 years. And it does not mean that I disagree at all with the president's right and obligation to pursue all legitimate legal challenges to this outcome. To say this constitutes living in reality. And if I offered you a false reality, if I told you that there was an excellent, phenomenal chance that the Supreme Court was going to step in and deliver a victory to President Trump, I'd be lying to you. Now, you've known me for a long time now, and you know me long enough to know that I will not lie to you or simply tell you what you want to hear. But what I will tell you tonight is that even amidst an election loss, there is an enormous amount for us to be hopeful about, even optimistic. And how things are handled going forward is going to have a huge impact on the Republicans' ability to stop Biden's most egregious moves, and thus these next moves are critical to the future of the country. And thanks to President Trump, we have seen the amazing results that are possible with his America First agenda. Middle-income, blue-collar workers saw unprecedented wage gains. The Middle East, historic peace deals nobody thought was possible. Of course, we saw China finally put back on its heels on trade. And because of the hard work and talented people Trump brought into his administration during the pandemic, he kept our economy going after a brief shutdown. And with Operation Warp Speed, he marshaled the resources to end this scourge. So what he did from the time he was inaugurated through now, it worked, period. And nearly 74 million Americans, the largest number to ever turn out for a Republican president, they voted for him. A more diverse coalition than most of us ever thought would happen. Like, who predicted Republicans would gain so many seats in the House? All the experts say that wasn't possible. They flipped 11 so far and on track to unseat even more Democrats. This is all because of President Trump. Ditto for the Republican gains in state houses across America. Now, today we see that Biden, what is he doing? Well, he's picking mostly bland retreads to his cabinet. John Kerry will be Mr. Climate Change. The globalist and longtime Biden flunky Tony Blinken as Secretary of State. And Janet Yellen, former Fed chair under Obama, heads to Treasury. With a few liberals dropped in at Homeland Security and the UN. We'll get to more of them later on. Now, Biden's entire administration is basically going to look like a rerun of the series canceled 4 years ago, except this time without its popular leading man, Obama. Now, we know what they're going to do, what Obama did, but it's going to be worse. Gutting oil and gas jobs, open borders with no deportations, massive concessions to Europe on trade is going to kill off so much of our manufacturing and our jobs. A climate change deal, an elimination of tariffs that will allow China to run the table on everyone, and much, much more. But some of this nonsense can be stopped if Republicans hold the Senate. Now, that means the political capital President Trump spends from now until January 5th, the day of the Georgia runoffs, should be spent convincing the people of Georgia to hold the line. Now, in a stunning new survey, just 3 weeks after the election, we already have 6% of Americans who want Republicans to keep the Senate. It's amazing. Now, President Trump can help deliver those victories, no doubt about it. And I expect and I hope that in the coming days, the president will announce a series of rallies across Georgia where he celebrates his huge number of successes of the past 4 years and explains why sending two far-left radicals to the Senate is only going to embolden the worst instincts of the Democrat Party. Now, winning those 2 seats will be a great way to embolden the Republican resistance across America and send a very clear message that Biden and his team have zero mandate to pull our country to the hard left. This is the time for the president to remind all Americans that we will save this country. Even with the current setback, great patriots coast to coast have not given up. They do not want us to be mere puppets of Europe and the CCP. And unlike those who gather in Davos and opine about the end of national borders, unlike those who tear down our history and spit on law enforcement, we believe in the goodness of our people and the righteousness of our founders and our Constitution. We believe our independence cannot be sublimated to a global order determined by unaccountable bureaucrats in Brussels or in Paris. The people who have to get up and earn a living every day, they need to know that they still have champions who believe the government should work for them, not against them. And that means we need President Trump to continue advocating for American exceptionalism and continue reaching out to communities who've been lied to or poorly served for generations. And I think that when we get into 2021, 2022, we will have seen Team Biden stumble from one crisis to another. And voters, oh yeah, voters will start wondering when we're going to have a president who once again looks out for our interests. I was thinking about this today. The deep state, Schiff, Pelosi, big tech, the media, Wall Street, they shoveled money at Biden, Hollywood, pro athletes who make millions in China, they all did everything they could to destroy Trump. Plus, then we were hit with a pandemic that originated in China. And yet, with all of that, on January 21st, 2020, he will still be the most important person in American politics if he wants to be. After all, we all know Biden's not going to be the one calling his own shots. People, I don't think, realize what it's going to be like when we have more than 70 million Americans mad at the way the government is run under Team Biden. Now, it's true, the Democrats were mad too for 4 years, but at least for most of that, they had incredible peace and prosperity to enjoy. Addressing the irregularities and instances of possible fraud in this election, it probably won't be possible before Trump leaves office. But what he could do, and this is just as important as Georgia, is appoint a presidential commission on election reform. And this group must investigate exactly what happened in states like Pennsylvania and in Michigan, et cetera, and offer serious recommendations to see that this never happens again. There is zero reason why every state in America can't be like Florida or Texas and call this thing on election night. This cannot turn out to be a permanent find the votes you need game to bury Republicans. No way. But believe me, I think the Democrats are hoping, they're probably betting, that President Trump spends the next 6 weeks just railing on about how the election was rigged and so forth. But I don't think there's a need for him to keep relitigating that in the court of public opinion because a huge percentage of Americans already believe that. Trump remains the most compelling voice in American politics. And this Thanksgiving, we should all be incredibly grateful for his service to our country and his sacrifices for this country. The fact of the matter is, no one else, at least not right now, can bring the energy, draw the crowds, and attract new voters like Latinos and African Americans as he did. And I personally cannot wait to see what President Trump does next. And by the way, you're always welcome here. And that's The Angle.